Hey guys, what's up? It's Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. And before we get started with today's video, remember to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. And without further ado, let's get on with the video. So today's video, as you can tell by the title, is going to be dark romance and fantasy romance recommendations. I must tell you, most of these are dark romance. I do not read a lot of fantasy romance, I realize, but I really want to read more in 2024. So as you can see, this shelf here that hosts those kinds of books is empty. I took them all off the shelf and I'm going to be reorganizing that shelf there afterwards, but let's just get in. So we are going to start with the dark romances and move into the fantasy romances. So the first one I have is Priest by Sarah Simone. This is a taboo romance. It is a priest romance, and Sarah Simone writes the best spicy scenes. Like, if you want a good spicy scene, look no further than Sarah Simone. So this book is about a priest, and of course, you know, he shouldn't be thinking spicy things and doing spicy things, but he does, and their relationship is so good. I love this book. It is quite spicy. I think it would probably be about 4 chili peppers, in my opinion, and I absolutely love this book. 5 stars, so definitely go check this one out if this one sounds interesting to you. I'm not going to go into too much detail about these books because otherwise we could be here for a while. And if I'm being honest, I don't remember every single thing about each of these books. I just know that I love them and the general premise. So the next one is Stillbeating by Jennifer Hartman. This is probably the darkest book I've ever read. And that's only because it has my one trigger in it. I mean, I might have more, but I haven't stumbled across them to know. So my trigger is SA. And this book has a lot of that in the first part. It's split up into 3 parts, and the first part is mostly SA. So that's why it is the darkest and hardest book I've ever read. But I did love it. I gave it 5 stars, and it was the sweetest romance. I know it's weird to say that, but it was the sweetest romance between the 2 main characters. They are kidnapped together and in this guy's basement, and this guy does horrible things to them, but they're just the sweetest couple ever. And Dean is the sweetest man ever, and he would do anything for Cora, and I absolutely love both of them. It is Sister's Fiance, and so yeah, if you are interested in this one, definitely pick this up. A lot of people recommend this for beginners getting into dark romance. Personally, I would say this is more of a medium dark romance because it has my trigger. But if that's not a trigger for you, then yeah, it's probably more of a lighter romance. Not lighter, but lighter dark romance. But again, I would say this is more medium. Next, we have one of my favorite series. Well, this is probably my favorite series that's dark romance, but one of my favorite romance series of all time, The Brutal Birthright. I've only read 3 books in it. There is Brutal Prince, which is book 1. Stolen Heir, which is book 2. Savage Lover is book 3. Bloody Heart is book 4. Broken Vow is book 5. And Heavy Crown is book 6. And these are all by Sophie Lark. And Sophie Lark is just one of the best authors ever. And she is an incredible person. I love to watch her stuff that she posts on Instagram. And these books are all light dark romances. So if you want a good place to start, I would recommend this series. And this is a mafia series, and each book has different tropes, like Brutal Prince. The first one is enemies to lovers, arranged marriage, and Stolen Heir is captor captive, and it's also, she is a dancer. And Broken Vow is bodyguard, cowboy, romance. So definitely check out the series if any of those tropes interest you. And they're all interconnected standalones. You do not need to read them in order. I started with Broken Vow and then went back to the beginning because I heard Broken Vow was the best. I'm like, oh my God, what are words? If I might like this author, then I should start with her best book. If that made any sense, I am so sorry. I am making no sense today. Next is Lessons in Corruption by Gianna Darling. This is a motorcycle club romance and reverse age gap. It is the first in the Fallen Men series. I have only read this book. I do own the second one. It is on my TBR, but I loved this book. 5 stars. It is a little spicy. It's not too spicy though, I must say. And I really enjoyed it, and it was such a good read. The couple was really good. I mean, personally, do I see them working out forever? maybe not, but it was a fun read, and I definitely recommend Gianna's work because her writing is phenomenal. And next is the last thing for dark romance I have to recommend, and that's the Never After series by Emily McIntyre. And so this consists of Hooked, Scarred, and Wretched plus Twisted and Crossed, which I do not own and have not read. But I read Hooked last year and loved it. 5 stars. This is so spicy. I'd say like 4.5 chili peppers, maybe even 5. And this book was so good. And it is a Peter Pan reimagining. They're all reimaginings, not really retellings, but they loosely have elements of fairy tales. Next is Scarred by Emily McIntyre, and this is about the Lion King. This one was such a disappointment for me, actually. So it's a lot of people's favorite, so I would say give it a try. But if you're not vibing with it, just know, neither did I. I think I gave it 3 stars, and upon reflection, that was being very generous. Probably should have been more like a 2.5, maybe even 2. And so this is the second one. But then this year, I read Wretched by Emily McIntyre, which is book 3, and is a Wizard of Oz reimagining, and I loved every second of it. It is so good. It's my favorite in the series, and it is one of my favorite romance books of all time now. It is just beyond amazing. I gave it 5 stars. If I could give it 6 million, I would. And I absolutely love this. It is spicy, but not as spicy as her other books. I would say it's probably more like a 3.5 on the chili pepper scale. So if you're looking for a book that has a lot of spice, but not as much as her other books, I would say out of the first 3 that I've read, this is the least spicy. But it does have a spicy scene right near the beginning. So it might be like, how is it the least spicy? But it is, in my opinion. And I just love this book so much. I have a reading vlog where I read this book. And I don't know if that'll be out before this or after this. If it is not out, keep an eye out for it. And now on to my fantasy romance recommendations. Let's start with the one that I actually am recommending all the fantasy romance I own that I've read. I only have 3. Can you believe that? The first one is Pestilence by Laura Thalassa, which is the first book in the 4 Horsemen series. I give this book 3.5 stars. I did enjoy it, and I do want to continue with the rest of the series. This cover is stunning. So basically this is about the 4 horsemen. They come down to Earth and they have their romances with mortal humans. And so this is about Pestilence, and what is her name? Sarah. So this is a fantasy romance, and the 4 horsemen take her captive and he falls for her. So it is captive, and I love this book, but I don't love it. If that makes any sense. I love how it was written, and I love the story, but something was just missing for me. So it was 3.5, and I do want to continue with the series because I hear it does get better. Oh my god, words. I was just going on a ramble about that book. Next is Radiance by Grace Draven. I absolutely love this book. 5 stars. It was my favorite fantasy romance I'd ever read, but then I read this next one recently. And I think I might like this last one more. But this one is an enemies to lovers, arranged marriage, and they find each other repulsive because they are different species, and they look at each other and they're like, ew. But they do fall in love, and it's just cool to see their different cultures and his culture. She goes to his world, and they eat different food, and they do different things, and to her it's disgusting. But they do fall in love, and it is a really sweet romance. Both characters are absolutely amazing and so kind, and definitely check out this book. And the next one is Hades by Carly Spade, the first book in Contemporary Mythos series. And this is a Hades, and it says Hades and Persephone reimagining, but it's not, because Persephone is mentioned in this, and she's not the main female character. But this is about Hades, and he comes to our world, and it is his relationship with a human named Stephanie, and she is just the best. I absolutely love her character, and Hades is so sexy. He is compared to James Ford, aka Sawyer, from Lost, and he is my crush. He is my man. So this guy automatically gets a 10 just for being compared to him. for this book was so good, so fun. It did have some action near the end, so it did take some twists I wasn't expecting. And those are the dark romance and fantasy romance books I have to recommend to you in this video. Let me know if you've read any of these and your thoughts, and let me know any dark romance or fantasy romance recommendations you may have, because I definitely want to get more into those genres, especially fantasy romance, since I don't really read them, I realized. But if you made it this far, please leave me a red emoji. And before you go, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. I'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone.